כי צריך לדעת, you need to know that גזר דין בשמיים מחכה לאישור כאן בארץ. When the heavenly judgment is being passed in heaven, it needs to get an approval from here on earth. תארו לעצמכם למשל, for example, שמישהו גנב, somebody stole, השם ישמור, may God protect us. לפני שגוזרים את דינו בשמיים, so before the decree is uttered in heaven, מגלגלים כאן למטה שמישהו שואל את הגנב, so things are arranged over here. מגלגלים means things are rolled, but it means that in other words, it's events are arranged. שמישהו שואל את הגנב, so that someone should end up asking the thief, תגיד לי, מה אתה חושב שצריך לעשות עם פלוני שגנב? That the thief will be asked, hey, what do you think? What should we do with this guy who stole? All right? והוא עונה, הוא גנב? He stole? נורא, that's terrible. צריך לזרוק אותו לכלא, he has to be thrown in jail. So Reb Shlomo says, הוא גזר עכשיו את דינו שלו. He's just passed a decree against himself. Right? Now, what this is based on is that according to Jewish law, when the courts would decide on a verdict, the defendant or the litigant, I mean, whoever was being judged, was required to say, I accept the judgment. So if somebody is being judged in heaven, how does the heavenly court get the defendant to accept the judgment? The way that's done is that events are organized that this person who's being tried should encounter something like this, and if he says, "Oh, for this and this, so and so should get such and such a punishment," he's just agreed to the heavenly decree against himself. So V'lachen, page 73, V'lachen, and therefore, Da'alecha, know, l'tovatcha, for your own benefit, Tizaher, be very careful. Tishatam medaber al zulat, when you're speaking about somebody else, Ulai ata be'etzem marshia et asmecha. You might very well be declaring yourself as guilty. The word marshia is the verb from the word rasha. Rasha is a noun, a wicked person. Marshia is to declare to declare one as a rasha, as a wicked person. Lachein al ta'ashim ad ish. So therefore, be careful. Don't go around accusing anybody. Al tishpot. Don't judge anyone. So that's why the holy rabbis say that this is a good way to merit a good year, by not judging other people. And I'm also requesting of you, b'shum ofen Hashem yishmo, that you should be very, very careful. God should protect us. Al titzak al ha'iradim shelcha b'yamim ha'kedoshim ha'ele. Don't scream at your children during these holy days. Da'alecha, know that kol ma she'ata oseh yotzeh heid b'shamayim. You have to know that whatever you're doing creates an echo, a wave, literally an echo in heaven. Yesh midah keneged midah. There's measure for measure. Im ata tzorik al ha'iradim shelcha, Hashem yishmor, if you're screaming against your children, ma koreh b'shamayim. So then what's happening in heaven? Halo kol ha'olam hem ha'iradim shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Isn't the entire world Hashem's children? אז אני מברך אתכם שתכסו את פני הילדים שלכם בנשיקות. So I'm blessing you to cover your children's faces with kisses, ושממש תזכו להבין את הסימנים שלהם, and that you should merit to understand their signs, their symbols. Right? We were learning about the signs, the simanim and Rosh Hashanah. We were learning about that last week. Okay, so in general, one should be careful not to pass judgment on others. it's always a good idea not to do that, but particularly during the 10 days of Av. Right?
You have to be at a certain level to do all this.
Yes, you have to be on a certain level, but anybody who's on a level basically worked to get there. In other words, it's not like, it's like very rare that maybe one person in a generation is born a tzaddik. And you always have to remember that kol hagadol mechaveru yisur gadol himenoi. Anybody who's bigger than his fellow also has a bigger yisur hara. The higher they are, the harder they fall. Right? That's the reality. Don't think that, I'm, and we very often think like that. Oh, if I would have been born like this guy, I would also be a holy person. Who says? Maybe he would have been a bigger criminal. These big guys, if they go around, they don't go shoplifting 5 and 10 cent things. Like, if they're doing something that shouldn't be done, like they do it big time. They'll do the great train robbery,
Wall Street.
Wall Street. Can you imagine if Madoff would have been a Rosh Yeshiva? He would have instead of, the guy, he's alive still.
Yeah.
But the second son just passed away.
The two of his sons passed away.
One killed himself, and the other one died of cancer.
No. But can you imagine, like, the guy must be a super genius to pull off what he did, right? Can you imagine if he would have instead of, he probably could have been one of the biggest Rosh Yeshivas in the world.
So Gadol Hador is not necessarily born that way.
He's for sure not born that
Gadol
way.
Hador works.
Exactly.
Hard to find someone born that way.
Right.
for instance.
Right.
So as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
One just has to.
Look, everybody has their limits as to how much they can achieve, but those limits are way beyond what your teacher told you in grade 1.
They told my parents in grade 8 that teaching of 31
This is the Chassan who's getting married today. Got to speak to him. Hello, Chassan. Aleichem Shalom, Chassan. What can I do? Yeah, what's up? Yes. Okay, good.
I agree with you. That's why I'm serious about
There's one that's marked up.
because I don't have that.
It's called L'chod Oidi. From the. I'm saying that there's one that has marking that has things underlined.
To maybe
Yeah.
there's another way to
Yeah.
look at this.
I'm also heard him say he doesn't.
Who's picking us up?
I've only been here a few days. I don't have a couple of months.
What, arranging a cab, you mean? I'll order the cab, I'll order the cab. Okay? That's right. Okay? Yeah, because then if somebody else orders the cab, it might be a bit early, might be a bit later, whatever, you know what I mean? Okay, we're planning to leave from here at 5 o'clock, okay? Okay, Zaga Bench. No, say we're planning to leave here from Yerushalayim at 5 o'clock, okay? Okay, call to Zaga Bench. Bye-bye.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the sticker.
Huh?
Is he named Torah?
Yeah. Well, his brother reigned yesterday, but yeah, he's the one who's been reigning, yeah.
Can I
Because
ask?
our regular Balker is now in Quebec City. He's doing, what do you call it when doctors go to specialize?
The fellowship.
Whatever you call it, yeah.
So it's almost my question is almost self-evident, but I wonder if you could talk a little bit about why these young men, it's even more important, because the principle is sound every day of the year. Why is it more important?
Because these are days of judgment. In other words, according to our tradition, is the Rosh Hashanah is the day that we coronate Hashem, and the books are that the book of life is open, the book of death is open, and that everybody's passing. That's what we were singing in that song before. Everyone is being individually examined, and God is making the decision, and we pray for our both financial and spiritual, physical, financial, and spiritual welfare for the year, and there's a judgment that's being passed as to what this year is going to be like for us. So you need your human. If you were to be like on the conscious level of these great tzaddikim, so then every day you would be the same. In other words, you would be conscious of these things on a daily basis. But us regular, ordinary folk, we need to have special times of the year to focus on special things. That's the way it is, right?
It would seem though that if you need to do at least some work, if you haven't been doing it all year, at least in Elul, to get to a place
That's what the Maimer that we've been learning is saying, like, you need the month of Elul to prepare yourself to be ready for the high holidays, right? Because this is an amazing story that he's going to tell us now. You might remember it from previous years. So the story is,
about not judging anyone. That also includes oneself.
Yeah, not to judge. In other words, to evaluate yourself is one thing. Because to take stock, you got to take stock. You can't go on, and day by day and just ignore what you're doing without taking stock. Because if you don't, it's very easy for us to start becoming oblivious to all kinds of things that we're doing. I'll give you an example. Let's talk about something a little bit more esoteric, okay? We're in the habit of passing judgment and evaluating people on the basis of what we see. Right? We're in the habit of on the basis of what we see. Oh, you see a guy, he's wearing a black kaftan, he's got a streimel on his head on Shabbos, and looks like a religious Jew, right? And then you're walking in the street, and then some young Israeli guy, clean shaven, no kippah, is walking past you, and it's Shabbos. So right away in your mind, you're thinking, oh, this guy is, he's the holy guy, and this guy is not, right? What do we know? You never know. Okay? There was a young man here Friday night, a friend of my son, Nachi, and during Operation Cast Lead, remember that, 2008? When we went into Gaza a few years ago. So he was there, and he was in this room in Gaza, and there was a bad mistake of friendly fire, and a tank shell hit them, the entire room that they were in. 28 soldiers got quite injured, and 3 of his soldiers died right in front of him. Okay? Now, what do we know about what this man is going through? Right? The other guy who's walking around, who's looking like nice and holy and religious, maybe a very, very good, upright, religious soul, not saying anything, but maybe this guy used to have p.5a, and he doesn't know how to relate with God anymore, like other than like pain and anger and so on, right? And so now let's take a look at ourselves. What's wrong with my eyes? You understand? What's wrong with the way I'm looking at people? That's the question I gotta ask myself. You know? And if we don't do that from time to time, so we just walk around and we start to think that that, oh yeah, I know everything, I see everything, I can judge everything, I can size somebody up in 3 seconds, right? So we need special times of the year, like to sort of like this big bell goes off and says, hey, boys and girls, stop, think about this, think about that, okay? Now, well, I learned something pretty amazing this past week, and I wrote it up in the Parsha. I don't know if you got to see it. At the end of the Parsha, it speaks about remembering what Amalek did to us, and that we should wipe him out, all traces of him. And it says that when we left Egypt, he attacked us. He attacked the stragglers. I think we spoke about it a bit last week. Remember? And we spoke about it yesterday at p.5a, right? So, but Michal wasn't here. Anyway, just bekitzer, okay? It was shaved done, and they were very self-judgmental. They were constantly judging themselves, and to the point that they didn't think that they're worthy enough to be within the clouds of glory. Okay? So the point that was being explained by the Chidushei Urim was that if you judge yourself so severely that it prevents you from doing something positive because you think, I'm not worthy enough to do something positive, right? Then that is idolatrous. Because God said, God said, yeah, take a serious reckoning of yourself, but don't pass judgment on whether you can do a mitzvah or not. Hashem is telling you to do the mitzvah, do the mitzvah.
It's finding the balance between
you have to,
but not
overdoing it. I remember one morning I'm standing outside the yeshiva in Montreal, my talis and film under my arm. Like I was literally standing there, thinking that how do I dare go back in after something I had done the previous day? And I was thinking, really, maybe the most honest thing for me to do is not to go back in ever into the yeshiva, not to put on my talis and tefillin anymore, right? Because after all, if I put on talis and tefillin every day, how could I have done what I did the day before? Okay. So just then, Reb Shlomo, he was the mashpia of the yeshiva. He was like the Hasidic teacher in the yeshiva, and he comes. He was just walking out of the building, and without asking me anything, he just comes right over to me, and he says, quick, go in, they're about to do Kedusha. Like the repetition of the Amida. Okay? And it was like Hashem sending me a message, okay, you need to be honest with yourself, you need to say, yes, I did this and so on. Okay, good. But that it should stop you from trying to do another mitzvah, that we don't have the right to do. Okay.
So regardless of whatever one would think that one has done, one should not prevent one from doing.
From getting up and trying again. Yeah.
I didn't find out this later.
That's what the Shuv is about.
Yeah. But the Yetzer Hara is very, very subtle. And he comes and he attacks us on different levels, you know. And sometimes he just attacks us with the garb of, like, you know, like being so holy. Right?
That's why.
Because we grew up in places where, you know, I'm pretty sure you too, but I know that I certainly did. We grew up in places where, like, you know, there was always this ranking and pecking order and things like that, right? Like, you know, who are you? You're not good enough. Who are you? You're not good enough. You never heard that in your life. I heard it all the time.
I didn't hear it, but I saw it.
You saw it, right? You know,
I wasn't as important as the rabbis.
whatever, right?
I grew up with it. I wasn't exactly
Right,
up to snuff for somebody else.
right. And especially in Toronto.
My father was
Toronto was like very much into that, you know.
very,
But everywhere, every society, there's always a pecking order. You understand? It's like that's what animal societies are like, right? I don't know about Florida, but you know, like maybe it's different there. Maybe it's different there. Like, you know the joke about the rabbi comes into shul Friday evening before services. Nobody's there yet, and he goes over to the Aron HaKodesh. He opens it up and he says, "God, you know, it's me, the rabbi, and Baruch Hashem, I have a family, and I've got children with some special needs, and like, you know, the board is taking a long time to approve a raise for my salary. I'm really not very worthy, but please, God, you know, we need some more money. Please help us. Thank you so much." And he closes the ark and goes and sits down. A couple of minutes later, the chassan goes over to the ark, opens up the ark. "God, you know, like, I love you so much, and I'm honored to lead the prayers. But you know that I have these needs, and I need a raise, and there's going to be a board meeting. Like, you know, please, like, you know, let me be very impressive this Shabbos. But I know they're really nobody, but still, God, please help me anyway." And he closes the ark and he sits down, and then the concierge, you know what concierge is? The janitor. He goes over and opens up the Aron HaKodesh and he says, it's French. He says, "God, you know, it's just me, you know, Chaim, or the janitor, and I know that I'm a nobody, but you know, my family is growing. I need more money." And the chassan says to the rabbi, he says, "Look who thinks he's a nobody. Look who thinks he's a nobody."
Golden Mary used to say to her cabinet, "Don't be so humble. You're not that great."
You know, I'll tell you, look who thinks he's a nobody. You know, even in that, you know what I mean? Like, even in that way, the Yetzer Hara gets you. You know, type of thing, you know?
I had the Woodstock congregation of 1,500 people. Gotcha.
I don't know the Woodstock. In Woodstock, New York?
Yeah.
But isn't that how one should conduct oneself?
To be humble, of course. But don't fool
But
yourself.
that's be false.
Like, you know, "Oh, I'm more humble than you are." Right?
But one says, "Yeah, it's like I learned here." That's not.
It's not it.
It's not your neshama talking. It's your.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Thank you.
So, page 74. Reb Levi Yitzchak Gonei v'tel Aveiot shel Yisrael. Reb Levi Yitzchak, the famous Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, steals the sins of Israel. So, לא רק שאין לשפוט שום אדם Now here's Reb Shlomo is getting much deeper here. He says, not only should you not judge anybody, you have to judge everybody in kaf zchut literally means the positive dish, right? Remember those scales, the two dishes, right? Remember the old Rosh Hashanah cards when you were a kid? Before internet, the people actually used to mail Rosh Hashanah cards. They inevitably had a drawing of a scale and on the cover of the days of judgment. So to judge, this is a phrase in the Mishnah, Ladun kol adam lekaf zchut, judge everybody in the positive dish, in other words, see the positive in them. Normally this is understood how tzarich lelamed zchut al kol am Yisrael. You have to find some way to defend the people of Israel. Okay? In other words, you see somebody doing something wrong, instead of judging them and saying, look at the terrible thing that they're doing, try to figure out how you could defend them. Okay? Kid is sitting on the bus seat and there's an old man standing nearby and he's not giving up his seat. Instead of saying, look at the rotten kid, maybe the kid has a stomach ache. Maybe the kid gets nauseous if he's standing, So that's being made the kaf zchut, finding some kind of a positive reason, explanation as to what's going on. ואני רוצה לספר לכם סיפור על רבי לוי יצחק מברדיצ'ב, זה ממש סיפור חובה. I want to tell you a story about Rabbi Levi Yitzchak. This is a story that every Yid has to know. אתם יודעים, יש לנו עם ישראל חבר טוב אחד בשמיים. We have a good friend in heaven. מלבד אליהו הנביא, besides Elijah, the prophet, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak מברדיצ'ב, סניגורם של ישראל. He became known as the great defender of Israel. הצדיק שמעולם לא ראה דבר רע בשום יהודי בעולם. He was this tzaddik that never saw anything negative in any Yid. He ממש האמין, and he truly believed, שכל יהודי הוא קודש קודשים. He truly believed that every Jew is the Holy of Holies. I once heard a story that this Jew came to the Lubavitch Rebbe, when he was handing out dollars from, I don't know, maybe from Italy or whatever it is, and he says to the Rebbe, he says, I really would like to come back to Judaism and keep Shabbos and keep kosher and so on, but I'm really having a hard time because I'm in love with this non-Jewish girl, and I just don't see how I could break up this relationship. And the Rebbe said to him, I'm jealous of you. He said, what? He says, yes, I'm jealous of you. I've never been challenged in this way. You have an opportunity to reach such tremendous heights because you're being so challenged, right? So, and like the Rebbe knew exactly what to say to everybody, but that blew him away so much that he managed that he did his tshuva. But again, like we learned it in Tanya, you're walking through the shuk and you see the guy standing behind the tomatoes and the potatoes, and he's not acting very nice and so on. Did you ever do that for an hour? Did you ever stand behind that and watch the ladies come by and pinch the tomatoes that you're trying to sell? Did you ever do that in your life? Never did that, right? Do you know what it's like? You have no idea. Here are your goods, right? You're trying to make a living. You're making a few, who knows what you're making on a kilo, right? You got to move the goods. You got to get them going because tomorrow they're not going to be as fresh as today, right? Etc., etc. And it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the shuk is closing in another hour. You haven't made your daily earnings yet. You're putting things on the scale. It's very easy to sort of take a little bit extra type of thing and so on, right? And you're being tested the entire time. You're being tested by the customers, and you're being tested by honest ways, and you're being tested by simple, nudgy people, and all kinds of things like that. And now you see the guys screaming at somebody. Judge him favorably. Don't say, oh, look at this rotten character. Maybe what he's doing is not good right now. But don't judge the person. Don't judge the person. Learn to see the positive. Now, it doesn't mean that you become naive. It doesn't mean that you start being naive. But start to look at the positives, right? I know somebody that did a big job for somebody, and then when it came time to paying, the client says to this person, you know, we're not paying you your entire fee because you talked us into spending more than we should have. This is adults, right? This person designed their house and convinced them to buy better quality this, better quality that, and the client says, you know, we ended up spending a lot more than we were planning to spend because we listened to you. Now the advice was actually good advice, you know. So the choice that this person had was to say, listen, you're going to have to pay, and I'll go to Beis Din, I'll go to court if necessary, right? But what this person decided to do instead was, I understand that you're in a tight spot right now, yeah? But you will pay, and I'll wait till you come around to your senses, and you'll realize that you should pay. And it took a couple of years, but they eventually paid. Right? And when I spoke to this person, I said, like I would let them have it. You know, you put in all this work, right? And then they turn around and they're trying to cut your fee because whatever the stupid, you know, this reason that you convinced them to spend more than they were originally planning. You know, these are adults, right? They're responsible for their decisions. But this person said, no, I'll handle it my way. And that's what happened. They eventually paid. They realized not long after that the advice they had been given was the correct advice, you know, etc., etc. But in the meantime, at that particular point, they were like, you know, who knows, maybe they were expecting that they were going to get some money coming in from an uncle, from a this, from a that, whatever, and didn't quite come in, and like, you know, maybe they panicked a little bit, what are we going to do, right?
They created an excuse.
They created an excuse. But this person decided to look on the positive, to judge them favorably. Doesn't mean that you're naive and you say, okay, here, I'll take a cut. They didn't deserve a cut, you know what I mean? Just the person who did the work and needs to be paid. But instead of, like, you know, judging them and saying, oh, you're terrible, look at what you're like, you know, you hire me and then you have me do all this work, and then at the end, you know, you want to cut on my shoulders, right? So in general, it's a better attitude to take, you know, like when I used to go negotiate for the teachers union, they used to tell me that not to talk at the negotiating table because I was like a you know, like a hothead. I can get the other side of the table going. And so sometimes when the negotiating team wanted that, they'd say, okay, Shalom, today you're talking.
You're the bad cow.
Today you're talking, you know, but but it's true. You gotta know how to deal, right? Okay, so now Reb Shlomo is saying something much deeper. He's saying like this. He's saying that Rebbe Yitzchak never saw anything negative in another person, in another Yid. V'chol Am Yisrael Yodeya. So he saw that every Yid is Kodesh HaKodashim. You know, this is a great, you might want to write this one down. Reb Shlomo once said, maybe not every Jew is holy, but every Jew is the holy of holies. Now what's that supposed to mean? That means that in your deepest depth, just like in the sanctuary, right? The innermost chamber was the Holy of Holies, right? In every Jew, in the innermost chamber of their being, every Jew is the Holy of Holies. Every Yid. And that's what we're learning about in the Maimer, in other words, but it's in a state of exile, right? Whatever Yid has in their innermost essence the Holy of Holies. Okay. Now, when we're looking at one another and we don't see it in each other, right? Then what all we're doing is we're reinforcing our shallow perspectives.
Isn't it also that we don't see it in ourselves?
Also, yeah. Reb Aryeh showed us last week. He showed us from a non-Hasidic master. He showed us a great line that if you're sitting and studying the Talmud, sorry, just drink. Yaakov, hi, I'm just finishing a shir. Call me back in 15 minutes. Please call back, okay? Thank you, back. So this where I start telling you. Yeah. So he says that you're sitting and learning, and while you're sitting and learning, somebody comes and needs a favor, and you have to close the Gemara to go and do it. He says if you close your Gemara and you go do the favor, you should know that in fact you never really closed the Gemara. If you're sitting and learning and you refuse to do the person a favor because you have to close your Gemara, you should know in fact you never actually even opened it. Pretty strong, yeah? You never even opened it.
That could be understandable if one has integrated.
That's really
what Rikiva said. We have to get.
Yeah, of course. That's exactly the point. Okay, so
before we continue,
yeah.
I'm not sure if I've said this before. But what I'm hearing, I'm integrating. I don't know if I've even reached the bottom rung here, but are we talking about the heights or the level of an ordinary person?
We're talking about a level that every one of us can achieve. Yeah.
If we want to.
If we want to. If we want to and we're willing to actually do the work, we can do it. You see, we've spoken about this in the past. We have this thing that, we go to shul and we perch. You know what I mean by perch? Like you fly into the shul and you perch on a branch and you start going tweet. You're not really davening, and you're talking to somebody or whatever it is, and you're looking down at other people and you're saying, well, I know that I'm not really doing my job, what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm still better than that one. He's also talking. Or I'm still better than that one. He's also talking, and so on. And we delude ourselves so easy, and again, it goes back to that stupid ranking system. When I went to school, in grade 1, 2, and 3, and so on, elementary school, they used to have rank at the bottom of the report card. I don't know if they had it in your schools, but we used to get ranked, and like there were 25 kids in my class, and I had one of the distinctions of being either 23, 24, or 25, or maybe 26. There were only 25 kids in the class, but you know what I mean? And right away, from an early age, you're already not taught to think about, are you living up to your potential? You're taught to think about, am I better than this guy? And even if we're not taught, one of the big problems that we had to deal with in elementary school when I was a teacher was this whole phenomenon of cliques, being like, cliques, and it wasn't nice. There were kids who were like, like
It's gotten worse. So
exactly like their parents, like they knew how to manipulate those cliques like perfectly. And it's gotten worse over time.
well, I think there's a lot more bullying now than they
Yeah.
do at place, but I think the nastiness has gotten a lot worse.
Or maybe more people are talking about it. I don't know, but I mean,
Probably a little of both.
Do you read Calvin and Hobbes? Do you remember those ones where he goes to school and there's this guy Big Mo and he's keeps on going over them every day and saying that you owe me a quarter, you owe me this. There was always somebody like that, like the bull, So, and then what do? We're a little bit more subtle. We bully in different ways, right? So that's why you need Elul and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to make us think about this, because how often do you think about it, right? By the end of the day, and I'm going to sleep already, and sometimes I think to myself, like, honestly, how much time did I spend today thinking of, or being aware that I actually have a neshama? So often the day goes by and like what? Like, I spent my day in the most mundane way, right? We don't do. So you're saying this is something that everybody can do? Yeah, it's something that everybody can do if we're willing to do the work. So long as we're not willing to be a warrior, so to speak. Once was giving a talk in Montreal, and there was this woman, and was talking about the concept of being a holy warrior. So this woman in Ireland said, "Sheldon, wait a second, stop." And she turns to what's her name? Another friend of hers, and she says to her, and because this other lady was sitting there and nodding her head the entire time, when I was talking about being a Jewish warrior. And so Marilyn says to her, "What's Shalom talking about?" And she says, "Shalom is saying you have to be a Jewish warrior." She knew that she had a hearing problem, so she wanted to double check that she got it right. A Jewish warrior.
That's my expression. Don't be it needs to be warriors, not warriors.
Not warriors, right? Okay. So, Ethel, what's her name? She's like the whole time nodding her head, like agreeing with everything I'm saying. It's a good thing that Marilyn stopped her and said, "What's he saying?" You have to be a Jewish warrior, not a Jewish warrior. Right?
So one needs to be constantly constantly. It's not enough just to.
I told you this last year. There's a sikhi in which the Lubavitcher Rebbe did a rare display of his sarcasm, very rare. And he's talking about these rabbis who are on summer vacation, and they're lying on the beach, and they're writing their Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur speeches, and they're going to be giving the congregation some words of guidance and musar about what they should improve on, and so on, right? So the Rebbe says, okay, then they're going to get up and they're going to stand. So they're lying on the beach, and they already know what they need to tell their congregation, right? Well, they're writing their sermon on the beach, right? So, like, what kind of space are they in to begin with, right? And then he says they're going to get up and they're going to scream at everybody from the pulpit. So the Rebbe says, the rabbis tell us that the words of the wise are listened to and received when they're spoken with tranquility. So if the rabbi is going to get up and he's going to scream at everybody, so then obviously he's not that wise, which is okay, but why do you have to get up on the pulpit and let everybody know that you're not so wise? But in any case, yes, we get trapped into this so easily. so easily, it's so easy to get trapped into this thing that I'm okay. You know why I'm okay? Because I'm 1 centimeter above this guy. That's why I'm okay.
That feeling
Yeah.
or that awareness comes very subtly when you're not aware of it.
Yep. Yep.
You also don't want to look at the person who seems holier and be upset that you're not at that level either.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. It's God is the Yetzer is extremely devious. It's a reality that you have to deal with. Yeah.
I fully need to live forever. I'm not going to integrate all this in one lifetime.
That's another thing you got to be
50 years,
careful
like,
about. I got to reach the level of being a tzaddik. Who says? Maybe for me, just not to insult somebody today, that's going to be my tzaddik. That's going to be my level of tzaddik for today. Who knows? We take one moment at a time. What's the right thing for right now?
And what you just said, you said this in different contexts.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what you did or what you're going to do. What does God want me to do
right now? Exactly. Okay, so we'll do the story tomorrow, but basically just to give you the idea is when you see somebody else doing something negative, not only but not judging them, but are you ready to take the blame for that person? Are you ready to take the responsibility, right? Your kid comes home and with a note that they were very insulting to the teacher today. Are you ready to, instead of just screaming at your kid and saying that hey, but you're really acting rotten, are you ready to say, what am I doing that's preventing my son, my daughter from being on the right level of consciousness? Okay? So we should have good news